Sophie. I'm part of the Red School team, which is one of the great joys of my life. And I'm here with Alexandra Pope, who I'm sure if you're on this page watching what we do, then you know the real Red Pope who is with us here today. And she has been, I could cry, she has been a tremendous guide for me over the past 10 years, initiating me into cycle awareness through a book that I studied by myself for 13 months that your words coached me. And now I get to be here sitting with you, asking you questions about menopause in the run-up to our first ever Red School menopause course, which is coming up at the end of October. So Alexandra, welcome. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well today, Sophie. Just thank you very much indeed. I just love talking about this. So it's just a pleasure to be talking with you. So let's get rocking and rolling then. I can't wait to dive in. And
Let's do it. So we've had some questions that have come in. This is a Q&A about anything to do with menopause, whether you're in the menopause transition right now, whether you're on the other side of menopause and you have questions about it, whether you're in your 40s perhaps, or maybe even younger, and you're feeling the stirrings of menopause happening. This is the time to ask Alexandra your questions. So you can drop, if you're here listening live, you can drop questions into the comment thread, and I'm going to see if I can multitask on day 25 of my cycle.
Yeah,
and,
you can do it, Sophie.
I can do it. And
Yes.
harvest the questions from Facebook if they come in. But we have had some questions that have come in, starting with a wonderful one from Leah Smith. So she says, I'm reimagining bringing light to my walk towards menopause. I'm sure you'll be covering it, but I'm keen to hear more about top tips for preparing for menopause in the lushest way imaginable. I love the way she phrases that. Inclusive of it being an ever-evolving happening too.
Well, evolving into menopause in the lushest way possible. You know, it's the lushness with which you bring to your menstrual cycle journey that is going to bear fruit at menopause. So, menopause has a challenge built into it, but there are some challenges that really I don't think we should be experiencing in the way that we are. So many women are experiencing very difficult symptoms of menopause, and I feel that is very symptomatic of the world we live in, that's immensely stressful, pressured, pushing, and it's that kind of energy that is screwing us up. So anything you can do to work at the pace of your own rhythm, and of course cycle awareness is the absolute, number one thing for helping you to pace your own rhythm, your own timing on anything in life. So, and in doing that, you are reducing stress and you're keeping your nervous system soothed. And I actually can't think of a better thing for preparing you for menopause than always coming back to your nervous system. I have to say, for me, my nervous system is God now. And I wished I'd figured that out a long time ago. So when I talk to bringing lushness to your cycle process, to your menstrual cycle awareness practice, it's that pacing of yourself and keeping your nervous system soothed. So that's one layer of it. The second layer of preparing for menopause is really working with your cycle in the deep way that we describe in Wild Power, which is to really honor each phase of the cycle, to honor who you are, how you turn up in each moment of the cycle, and to cherish and care for that, and not to think that you always have to be a certain way all the time, but to appreciate these different facets of your nature And because those different facets care for different aspects of who you are, of your psyche, of your soul. And so when you care for those different facets of yourself, you're sort of, again, you're working with your nervous system, but you're doing this lovely integrative process within your own soul. You're like knitting something together, within yourself. So, Sophie, you brought a lovely sweetness to yourself this morning. Let's see if I can multitask on day, what is it, 26?
25.
25. So there's a little tenderness you brought in there. You let yourself off the hook a little, because this perfectionism completely does us in. It fucks us over. Excuse me for swearing. So you can drop that for starters, perfectionism, if you want to have a lush menopause. So we've got this soothing of the nervous system. Then we've got this kind of integrative work that we're doing within our soul, within our psyche, building to something. So you're building a kind of psychological muscle and a spiritual muscle through cycle awareness. And that's what we detail in great depth in the book, in our book, Wild Power. And there's one other very important thing. Pay attention to what is coming up in the premenstrual phase, because it's giving you the heads up on what's going to be triggering you when you go through menopause. And in a way, the premenstrual stuff is really early warning systems for things that you need to sort of sort out and attend to, whatever that might be. And it can be stuff with relationships. It can be to do with what you're doing with your life, how you're using your energy, whether you're really on track with yourself. But actually, it could really be to do with how you're caring for yourself physically, how well rested you are, the quality of your diet, the amount of environmental toxicity you're dealing with. I'm talking about pollutants, environmental pollutants, which have a huge impact on our hormones. So basically, Sophie, I'm really talking about cycle awareness here, because when you're pacing your cycle, then you start to pace it when it shifts. So it's kind of cruising along, okay. And then one day it's not cruising. One day it's, And at first, it's not so much that the cycle changes, but there's a different atmosphere that comes in. But then, maybe your cycle goes longer, or you've heavy bleeding or something like that. And again, treat that as just upping your self-care. It's like the closer you get to menopause, the more fierce you have to be about your boundaries and about your self-care. Yeah. And then just one other thing, Sophie. I have to say that menopause also has a challenge because it's initiatory, but you are prepared for it. You are prepared. It's okay. It's dignifying. You're stepping up to something. So that's it, Sophie.
Mm-hmm. Just that. That's beautiful. I feel like what you're pointing to is has such huge ramifications, because you're saying that menopause is this gateway, this initiation that we can use as a portal into, really, I think what you're speaking about is self-love. It's self-love, and the world will tell us again and again to distract ourselves from that, to turn away from ourselves, to take care of others, to work hard, to push. And I love the way you reframe this, that menopause is this big sort of stop sign, like stop, turn towards yourself, which is a radical act in the world that we live in today.
Oh, I sort of feel almost teary when you speak all that, especially when you said those words, self-love, because that's actually at the heart of the menopause transition, Sophie. It is this huge act, one of recognition of yourself, but profound self-acceptance. It's an act of love. And that if now at menopause, it now has to happen. It's non-negotiable. There is no opt-out clause for not liking yourself or not accepting yourself. Yeah, there are bits of ourselves that we might struggle with, but fundamentally recognizing your own goodness and so to be able to do that, you just said it so brilliantly, you have to stop. You can't do business as usual. And by the way, business as usual is really screwed up. It's screwed up the way we're working. All of us, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. You know, why is this mental health crisis happening? Because people aren't able to rest in themselves. They aren't able to come home to themselves. They're not able to pace their own nervous system. And we're all so different. I mean, some people have the constitution of oxes. Bastards is all I can say. Bastards. I'm very jealous. And great. How great is that? But also, do remember you are vulnerable too. And some of us don't have constitutions of oxes. And
actually,
so, yes,
our planet doesn't have the constitution of an ox.
Well said, Sophie.
It's strong and fierce. Life will find a way, but the rate at which we're devouring everything around us is unsustainable. Similarly to the rate in which we're devouring our own energy. And it feels like again and again in your teachings around menopause, you're saying that it's a moment of leadership, but not that I'm going to go and stand on the stage kind of leadership that many people associate with leadership, but those quiet moments when a firm resolve is made to make a different choice.
That's beautiful, Sophie. Yes, that's precisely it. And I believe a menopause woman and a postmenopause woman particularly is the great interrupter of the kind of current madness at which we are operating. And the important thing for a woman coming into menopause and meeting menopause is to be able to remember that, to hold that, and not let herself get pathologized and problematized. And that's where we need allies, numbers. You know, that's what our work is all about, is bringing women together so that we can reconstitute a new story and give women a protection against that negative stuff, so that they can stay with their own knowing and the rightness of that, and interrupt and feel the dignity of that interruption of that mainstream, linear, top gear, screwing up the world mentality. Mm-hmm. But we've got to stay close together to interrupt.
And feel hands at our back, warm hands at our back, steadying us, which is why I'm so excited that we're doing this course, that we're going to have these 6 weeks to unfold this work together, and really to be in this presence together, in this supportive presence. But let's go on to the next question. Yes. You and I could definitely do this all day.
I know, we could. I'm just getting in the swing of it, Sophie, and thinking, God, we should do this more often.
Yeah, we should. So Annalisa, she says, I followed your workshop about the power of periods, and then about menopause some years ago. So she's been to both of the workshops. I had a good transition, but now in post-menopause, I realized that menstruation was a sort of protection for me. Now, what else may give me that nice sensation? Great question.
You know, I've never been asked that question, and it is a fabulous question, Annalisa. And hi, Annalisa. You know, so for women who perhaps who haven't been working with their cycles and don't know about this lovely energy that happens at menstruation, when you're able to pace your own cycle and timing and energy, and allow yourself to slow down as you come into menstruation, and then stop and just deeply let go and rest, what you'll notice is this lovely, it's like a cowl coming over you. It's this lovely, and we talk about the oxytocin wash, don't we, Sophie? This lovely sense of the love and bliss hormone that's sort of like honey coating you. It's exquisite, and it's this feeling of being protected and held in a bubble. And of course, we talk about the menstruation as this inner temple. and you are held, and you're able to hold the world at bay. It's very real, isn't it, Sophie? It's extraordinary. If you're able to stop, if you can't, it all gets sort of screwed up and shattered. And it is so reconstituting that menstrual energy, that menstrual moment. It really reconstitutes your physical body, your nervous system, your soul. Oh, it's exquisite. And, you know, I think I might be missing it slightly now that I'm talking about it. But now, so, oh, Annalise, you asked this very powerful question. Post-menopause, of course, you don't have that moment, that sort of scheme coming around you that's holding and protecting you in the same way. So what do we do as post-menopause women? I'm going to speak about how I do it, which is probably all I can ever do. I do sometimes miss it because sometimes I'm quite highly strung. Vata, you get more Vata-ish as you get older. And I have to always make sure I have a big buffer of time around me. Now, I'm a fairly driven person, and we have rather a lot to do at Red School. Driven by my inner life, you know, ideas coming, things I want to do, ideas. And so I have to, it's a practice, it's kind of an ongoing practice where I really have to, how do I say it? I sort of have to hold the world at bay. And I have to deliberately give myself this cocooning. Not all the time, but I particularly pay attention around the dark moon. And that's what I would recommend, because I feel I feel way more sensitive and sort of flighty and ecstatic at dark moon, and quite high. And it's a little bit, it's like an echo of what I used to experience when I was bleeding, Sophie. And I know myself very well, and I know I have to reduce stimulus and really slow right down, reduce what I do. So I have that as a kind of awareness on a monthly basis, that sense of, oh, I need to really up my downtime, if you like, my sort of soothing. But to be honest, it is a sort of ongoing practice for me, because I'm, one, very stimulated and driven from within, and two, there's just so much stuff coming at us from the world. So I deliberately have silence. Silence is crucial, not even music, interestingly. So I'm talking for myself, but for other people, music, I mean, I also have music too, I love music, but there's nothing more exquisite than silence. And silence in nature, that combination for me gives me incredible soothing. And I'm very blessed to live in very close to extraordinary countryside. So nature and silence are crucial. And so really what I'm talking here to is about boundaries. I'm very, very, very boundaried around my time. Very boundaried. So, and then within that, this is where, you know, I think of that sort of soothing that's activated, the oxytocin, comes from touch. And Annalise, I would say, you know, if you're missing that lovely feeling of protection, I would perhaps have a very delicious, soothing massage regularly, or I have a lovely something called a biomat that has infrared whatever, it does something, and I actually lie on that most days. I have a little afternoon nap, is my way of coming back to base and soothing myself for even just 20 minutes. That's all I need.
That's what I was thinking about as you were talking, that it feels that your cycle has worked you to the place where you came to at menopause, where you've now embodied the boundaries that your cycle was teaching you how to hold. Because I've seen you, you know, when we're at events together, you leave when it's time to leave, you go back to your place, you eat the food that you know is really going to nurture you, you go to sleep at the right time, you do your yoga. You are my yoga inspiration. You're like, I feel so strong. yes, I want to feel as strong as you when I'm your age. And you, it's like you've embodied it, and you have those micro moments of the mother hug of menstruation throughout your day, in your nap and in your biomat time.
That's a good summary. Thank you for feeding that back to me, Sophie. Yes, yes. I mean, it's different post-menopause. You are permanently exposed at some level, and you're exposed to the spiritual forces as much as to the world, and that's where the boundariness is everything.
Wow. Exposed to the spiritual forces as much as you're exposed to the world. And what are the implications of that?
Well, the implications for me are that if I don't practice very fierce self-care, and you mentioned the yoga, I'm pretty just ruthless now about it's yoga or walking. Walking is very soothing for me, really soothing. But if I'm not strengthening this kind of core in me, then my systems get a little bit blown by the sort of cosmic forces, if you like, and then the stuff of the world. So it really comes back to a sort of inner discipline with myself around self-care. And because I know my constitution, everyone has a different constitution. You have to find your own practices really that support that, Sophie. Yeah. But it's the self-care actually that allows me to be present, to keep present to things, and to have downtime, as a way. It's very interesting, Sophie, this. We've just completed a residential, the second residential of our in-person training, and that was last week. And it was really good. It was really rich. And I came away a little high, as per usual. So it's slightly dangerous driving home afterwards. But I've gotten really smart now. I know, because I get so high, it's like, I just keep going. I go, no. So I stayed really close to home. I just paced myself, all the things I've just been talking about, no stimulation, no going out except to get food, to let my spirit land. And then on Monday, of course, I actually had to get to work because we're still working with this menopause course, is demanding stuff of me. And I realized that my system hasn't fully recalibrated from that weekend. And I can feel if I'm easily irritated by things. So I'm really, I'm having to sort of have real moments of just stopping work and just going away and pottering around, and instead of getting into my usual pushing mode, because I'm the queen of will and discipline and focus and pushing myself.
Thank you. I want to get shit done. I want to remind any of you who are listening, I see that there's 27 brilliant women here with us: Mags, Melanie, Catherine, Jane, Diana, Sapreet, and we've got a question that's come in, so I'll bring that in later. So for anyone who's joining, you can drop your questions into the Q&A, into the thread
as well.
Well, this is juicy stuff.
Yeah.
There's some I want to carry on, but I'm going to ask a question and then I'll come back to it, because you've planted a seed. So this is from Ange. I'm new to the menstrual magic journey through the work of Claire Baker. Great. Well done, Claire. Are there cyclical seasons to enjoy once your bleeding stops, or do we say goodbye to those?
All right. This is a very good question that often comes up for me. When you are going through menopause and even post-menopause, there are no seasons built into your body anymore, that in the way that the menstrual cycle. But particularly through menopause, it completely and utterly goes. And even the moon will feel, you can check in the moon method, because I talked about the moon just now, because I can feel the moon and I pace it. But it's subtle. It's very, very subtle. It's not like the menstrual cycle. It's not in your face like the menstrual cycle. But going through menopause, you are really in a massive, great big void of, an unknown. And our course, of course, is addressing what happens in that phase at time and how to support yourself. So there are subtle phases you go through, but they are not like the seasons at all. When you come out the other side of menopause, the Chinese call it the second spring, and it is like the spring of your post-menopause life. So it's like you move through seasons in your post-menopause life. So I think of myself as in the summer of my post-menopause life now. It's very distinct. For a long time, when you come out of menopause, you will feel like a little bit like a newly hatched chook, you know, still kind of negotiating this body that is different now from before, and so on. And then you kind of get into your stride, and you get into what you've come to serve, and you're getting on with things. And then there's a point you really cross over, and I can sort of remember it. I remember saying, I think I've just arrived in the summer of my post-menopause life, and I actually think I'm peaking, and I'm in the the sort of second half of the summer, sliding towards the autumn. And no, I don't want to go there yet. It's a bit too early for me. So now, I feel the moon phases. Not all women do, and I don't feel every aspect of the moon intensely. I feel the dark moon, and I feel the new moon. You know, we're on day 6 now, and I can feel this tenderness, of course, from the residential, but also it's characteristic of the moon phase for me. And I also get very high around full moon, and then post full moon I can crash a little. You know, I can suddenly go and go, oh, just, yeah, but it's subtle, it's not strong. And then as I come into the autumn, the latter stages of the moon cycle, I can get kind of slightly more tetchy and sort of, you know, that sort of energy is always there post-menopause, because you just don't have the tolerance levels for stuff, but it can just get a little stronger.
There's a question that's come in that I just want to speak a little bit to first. So when I worked at Tree Sisters, I was the communications director at Tree Sisters, and I was running the Facebook page, and I decided to share a post of a beautiful photo shoot that a woman had done of women in menopause. And so it was showing women who are older, and the post went like, it just exploded, and the response from the community was huge. It was a very affirming post about the importance of honoring women in this phase of life. And I've always been lucky to be surrounded by menopausal women who I've sat at their feet and listened and learned. And I'm grateful that I had the wisdom to shut up and listen and learn. And so I listened. I thought, wow, okay. And what we discovered was that most of the women who were contributing to the tree planting at Tree Sisters were women in their late 40s to late 60s. And I just realized there is something going on here. These women have the power to transform everything in our world. They've cycled. They've reached this holy moment that you call, you know, the holy moment of menopause, and it's created this this new possibility for leadership, I think. Could you speak to that? You know, you spoke about this, we're open at menopause, open to the spiritual powers and to the world. What does that mean in terms of our capacity to lead and our capacity to live our calling?
This is a big question, Sophie. Menopause is a rewiring of your whole psycho-spiritual system to step up to serve something larger than yourself. So it's no longer about you anymore. You know, in your menstruating years, it's all about discovering yourself, what you're about, you know, your contribution, getting on with it, you know, establishing a life and saying, this is me, having a good, healthy, strong ego. And it's all about me in a good way, in a good way. It isn't all about you, of course. And you, Sophie, whatever you are, late 30s, you know, you have a good, strong, healthy ego, but you are also so committed to serving the world. Yes. And when you come to menopause, it's as though you go through this kind of washing machine and all that no longer serves you is stripped away. because you don't have the same energy anymore, and you want to just be able to utilize your energy and target it to what is most important for you. But what is really happening here is that you are being broken open. So your lovely ego is getting a battering. That's what happens in the washing machine. It gets a little bit of a battering. And it's humbling. I was talking about this with Uma Dinsmore-Tully yesterday. Humbling is the name of the game at menopause. You suddenly realize how human you are. And you get a little bit of a report card back on your arrogance, you know. If there was any arrogance, you get a little bit of a report card back on that. And it's very humbling. But this humbling is just what is required to break us open to standing for something larger. And if you are able to go through that humbling process without letting yourself be annihilated, and that's the danger, that you just sort of attack yourself and diminish yourself, but rather meet it, meet the challenge. It's like being called to task, you know, called to attend to yourself and to face your shadow. And if you stand up and meet that and take responsibility for who you are, the good bits and the not such good bits, you have created a much more wholesome vessel for A, being a leader, but B, being a leader that's in service of something bigger than you, so that it actually isn't about me anymore. Life is not personal, I've discovered. I mean, I haven't known that for a while, but it becomes very acute. So you kind of get over yourself, which is really important if you're going to risk or dare to step up as a leader. And menopause makes you permeable. And it makes you permeable to the divine. But there's one thing that's really important in all this, Sophie, is that menopause drills you down into what is uniquely you. Because there are a million places we could go, and a million trillion things we could go and do in the world to serve the world, and it'll fry you if you try to think about all that. But what menopause does is it brings you into the one true path that you need to follow to serve the world.
Oh, God, I've got shivers from head to toe. Oh, thank you.
Mm.
So for any women, I'm in my late 30s. We've got Lauren, who's joining here, who's 21 and is launching, well, very far into having her own company creating eco-friendly period wear with her twin sister at the age of 21.
Oh,
incredible. Wild power women. So she's saying, I'm currently sat in a car about to drive off again, so I won't be able to sit through the whole thing, but I do have one question. How do I, as someone who has decades to go before I experience it myself, best support women who are currently going through it? From my work with women, I know it's a big thing and any advice would be much appreciated. And I feel the same. How can I support these women in my life who are in this phase?
Firstly, do not tell them what to do. Do not tell them that their hot flushes are power surges. Don't even tell them that menopause is a sacred event that's empowering them. You don't want to tell a menopause woman stuff unless you are her age, you've been through it, you know it, or you can withstand what may come back to you. But you can do loads of stuff. One thing is that you listen to her. Now, if you have, for instance, a menopause woman in your office and she's sort of getting reactive and so on, slow right down. Do not roll your eyes and go, you know, just slow right down and meet this woman. You don't have to agree with her. You do not have to put up with shit, by the way, because if a woman going through menopause is unconscious of what's going on, she can be reactive and that, you know, and say crappy stuff and so on. But what that woman needs is dignity. She needs to be respected. And slow right down and just meet her. Ask her what she needs. But above all, just respect her, listen to her, give her the time of day. Ask her if she needs anything. I'm not sure if I can say it any better than that, really.
What I'm hearing from you is to choose not to collude with the collective bollocks that is
Yes.
menopause makes you crazy, and she's a crazy menopausal woman, and like just say
Don't do it.
I will not collude with that.
Do not, especially behind her back. Now I feel really upset and want to cry. Do not collude in any kind of conversations around that. And if this woman has said something hurtful to you, go and deal with it with her. Hey, please don't speak to me like that. You know, you need to be met. As someone who's reactive, just meet her. The moment a woman is met, something in her system is going to calm. She knows, I want to cry now. You've got me going. I feel so protective of women, especially older women, but I mean of women going through menopause or coming up to menopause.
Yeah.
I feel so protective of them. Because they're not seen. You know, once you post-menopause, you couldn't give a rat's ass about anything, you know. It's very liberating. But going into menopause, you need respect.
What I'm present to is it's another aspect of the patriarchal construct that has trapped us as women, those of us who identify as women, and that it's cracking open that carapace of menopausal crazy hag crone. I mean, crone has been reclaimed now as a powerful word, but this lie is cracking open, and that each of us as humans can turn can choose respect and dignity and space and slowing down in these moments rather than contributing to that lie.
See, what you've just said then has just reminded me of something, which is that, and Uzuma asked me, you know, what the superpower was of menopause, and I said sight. You see things. You suddenly see things. You see through things. You see through patriarchy. You see through all those people you had on pedestals. They all come crashing down. You see through yourself, and you can't censor yourself in the same way. Now, this is a huge power. It's a superpower, this sight. It's the capacity to say the emperor has no clothes. But if you are not sufficiently taking care of yourself and present to yourself and aware of what's going on and aware of the fact that you are really entering menopause country now and that you need a lot of time and space for yourself, if you're not caring for all those things, that's when you just end up being reactive because there's all this stuff coming at you and you can't manage it. You've got your own inner life crashing and burning. That sounds very melodramatic, but there is a little bit of that going on, just a tad of questioning everything you have ever done in your life, just a tad of that, okay? And, you know, even a tad is quite a lot. And then you've got all the kind of revelations about the world. And you're tired. You're tired, folks. It's a bad combination. It's a bad combination. And that's where the reactivity comes from.
We've got some great questions coming in. We've got some men joining us watching, which absolutely thrills me. We've got Jason here. Thank you, Jason. Adele's here. Diane, Anne. Fantastic. So this is from Rachel, which really segues nicely from what you were saying. So I'm coming to the end of menstruating years and feel like I haven't lived them properly. I haven't lived a full enough life. This is making it hard for me to approach aging and menopause. I haven't had children, I haven't had a long-term partner, I don't have a proper job, haven't had much sex. It's hard to let go and allow the next phase to come. I'm scared that I will lose hope. I'm 50, turning 51 tomorrow, still with regular periods.
Oh, Rachel. You are not alone, Rachel. And the first thing I'm going to say to you is, and I'm going to cry right now, I just want you to know, Rachel, that who you are is perfection. Something has been unfolding. Yes, on paper, maybe things don't look as great as you would like them to be. But you have lived a life. You have done stuff. You have been weathered. And it's really, 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 really important that you find some way to just start consecrating that, even as you are recognizing there are things that you haven't attended to sufficiently and not enough. I would urge you to reach out for some tender support with this. I would actually recommend one of our Red School mentors in our menstrual medicine circle process. I would actually really urge you to do that. I would of course urge you to come on the menopause course, because that it is the process that we're going to describe in the course that you're going to go through that actually is going to help you to actually make peace with yourself, because you will actually start making peace with who you are, and you are going to get some revelations about what you're about. And I want to remind you that there's a whole life beckoning after menopause, in which you are going to find a path for yourself. And actually menopause itself, in the way that we describe and teach it, is going to help you to find your way through to that path. But it's really important that you bring an immense amount of kindness to yourself and tenderness and consecration. And this is where a circle of women around you is so, so important, because it is a vulnerable time. And I have to say, our inner critics have a little bit of a field day. Bless them. They can't help themselves, but they do have a sacred role. And if you haven't read our book, Wild Power, please, Rachel, read it now whilst you're still menstruating. Just pack it all in. Do sort of inner work on steroids for a little while with your cycle. Yeah, I think that's the best thing I can say. But it's so important you start just consecrating the life you have lived to date, that you have planted seeds. The very fact that you can ask that question tells me you're alive and well in there. There's something cooking.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that vulnerability and tenderness into this space. Look, we're going to carry on this conversation, aren't we, Alexandra? On October the 15th. It is time for us to wrap up now. We will continue the conversation on October the 15th, which is our free introduction event, online event for the upcoming course, Menopause, the Great Awakener. And that's going to be at 7:00 UK time on October the 15th. You can register at redschoolmenopause.com. Please, those of you that are listening, spread the word about this. Help us to reach as many women in preparing for, in it, and on the other side of menopause as possible. We really want to change the collective story around this incredible. Well, I won't speak for it. I'll let you wrap up, Alexandra.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Sophie, it feels to me like this course is a way of just creating this whole new energy field around menopause. And the moment we do this course, that energy field is sort of like a meme. It just gets to work. It just keeps, it's contagious. It's going to spread. So it is just telling this new story. And so that women can inhabit an energy field that has a story around dignity and empowerment and respect.
Thank you. Absolute joy to be with you.
Sophie, I can do this all day with you.
let's carry on. Let's do it again. More topics. Gorgeous.
More topics. Yeah.
Yeah, have a beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Everyone that has joined us live, and hope to see many of you on October the 15th. Yeah. Okay. Take care.
Thank you.